Hello and welcome to blackfilm.com. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Nathalie Pitters, who was just listed in the BAFTA Breakthrough list and recently shot Netflix's new show, How to Get to Heaven from Belfast. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
Good, good, good. I'm in Miami. Where are you at?
I'm in London, UK.
You're not happy about that.
Um, I'm a warm weather person. I
Okay.
either like when it's really warm or when it's like snowy and really beautiful winter, and unfortunately London is neither of those right now. So,
Yeah, it's a bad
yeah,
time.
we're all very depressed in the UK right now.
So
So,
congratulations on the BAFTA nominee and
thank you.
also on this new show. I mean, tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you get? Oh, first of all, let's explain this because a lot of people were asking me. I was like, "Hey, I have an amazing interview today with the cinematographer," and they're like, "What's the cinematographer versus like the director?" I thought the director did the shooting of the movie. So can you explain what a cinematographer is and the difference between a cinematographer and a director?
Yes. So the director is responsible for everything. So the director if it's kind of it's on the director to get things right, but we are all there to support the director. We're there to support the director's vision and to support the story's vision. So whatever the narrative requires, it's on the director's sort of head to undertake that responsibility and sort of create create a visual language for the whole piece. So that's across every department. So everyone will ask the director for opinions on costume, makeup, hair, set design, cinematography, music, voiceover, editing, everything, right? But so my only responsibilities, and I say only, and it's a huge responsibility, obviously, but I'm not responsible for costume or makeup or production design. I collaborate with all of them in order to support the director's vision, but it's still the director's vision ultimately. So my responsibilities are firmly to do with camera, lighting, and grip. Grip is anything obviously that supports the camera. So dolly, tripod, crane, anything that sort of moves the camera, holds the camera. I think in the US it's done differently. So the grip department also deal with some lighting things, but in the UK, the grips only deal with under the camera. So my responsibility as the cinematographer or director of photography is to discuss things with the director and break down the script in such a way that we visually uh, create a visual language for the piece and showcase sort of emotion and narrative arcs visually. And so, for example, the director might say, "Oh, in this scene, I really want her to feel isolated and lonely or sad or something like that," right? So then it's my job to suggest some ways to that could make this character appear sad, so that like if you were watching it and your sound on your TV just completely broke, that you would still get a slight gist
Well,
of what's going on just by watching it. So that's done through camera movement, lighting. It's also we discuss with the set designers, like, oh, we want quite a dark space, or we want whatever, we want one window here or two windows and things like that. And then I then take that sort of poetic language that I'm discussing with the director and translate that into very technical specific things with my heads of department, my crew that I'm working with. And you get different types of directors. Some aren't super concerned about the visuals. That I mean, they care about the visuals, but they're not like put a 50 mm lens here. They're not
mm,
so specific. And others are. So it's also my job to be able to work with lots of different types of people and lots of different types of crew. Um,
what do
so
you
for
prefer?
example, I like it when there's a mixture of both.
Okay.
I don't want to be told necessarily, I want this lens at this height in this corner, exactly like this. I want to see this, and then I want to go from here to here to. It's nice every now and again, if it's a really specific shot and the director's got a really cool vision for it, like let's do a one take through the room or something. That's really fun and a really great challenge. But if I'm just being told what to do, then I just become a button pusher, and then it's like, why am I here?
Takes
So
the fun out of it for you too, right? The creative stuff.
exactly, and it's always fun with something like film and TV. There's no right or wrong answer of like you could get 1,000 cinematographers in a line, give us all the same paragraph, and we'll all interpret it differently of how it should be shot. So there's no right or wrong answer, and that's why it's so much nicer when I can collaborate with them and they can collaborate with me and we can collaborate together, because otherwise what's the point? We might as well go into any other job. So yeah, like I've worked with both and I like both, but it's very important to be able to collaborate. And like on this job, for example, we were working predominantly in Belfast and then a little in Dublin, and then I think 1 week in Dublin and then 2 weeks in Malta. And when we went to Malta, we brought our crew with us, but we also had to work with Maltese crew, and I'd never worked in Malta before. So it's one of those things where you have to adapt to different people's ways of working. They have to adapt to you. And so yeah, actually more of my job is about people management in the end, because I like to try to inspire my crew as well to feel like they can offer a suggestion, especially my camera operators, my gaffers. Sometimes they'll say, look, how about I try this? I really think it'd look nice. And I'd say, you know what, let's try it. I'm not going to sort of be the dictator over them. So it's a political role because you have to manage lots of people's emotions, egos, visions. Maybe someone's had a bad day or someone's had a great day. But yeah, ultimately it's about, if you take the sort of vision that's in the director's head and translate it into, like, I want the camera to start here and end here, and I want the light to come in through this window, and I want this, that, and that. So yeah, that's kind of what a cinematographer is, I'd say.
Okay,
And if
there
that
you go.
answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Good.
Very precise and clear.
Yeah,
So as you mentioned, you shot on location. How is that compared to shooting like on a set? Are you limited, and do you like being limited, or you like just to be able to do your own thing?
You are limited working on location rather than set, but that, as you say, is not always a bad thing. Working on location, you get the quirks of the location handed to you. These are things that you could never have in a production meeting. You could never have dreamed of, let's put an archway here, or let's put a weird little window there, or something, let's put a crazy spiral staircase in it. But then you go and scout these locations and you find these things and you think, oh my gosh, that's exactly what we were looking for, but we didn't know. Whereas when it's on a set, you have to create it all from scratch. And that's also great because you can then use your imagination a lot. You can, create some sort of Willy Wonka upside down universe kind of
I don't
place.
like when you guys do that though, because then I want to go to these bars, these restaurants, these
and then we're
clubs,
like,
and I'm like, they don't
sorry,
exist when I go there. I'm
we
like, where's
broke
this?
it
Like, oh, they
down.
made it up. I'm like, ah.
I mean, working in a studio is more comfortable as a human because there's bathrooms right there. There's like a tea and coffee station right there, and you've got like air conditioning or heating, and it's all very civilized and nice. And when you're working on location, it's very often, especially on Ireland, it's very often windy, rainy, all of those things at once, nighttime, all of it. So you have to be hardier to work on location, but I like working on location. I think it's really fun. You get to see all these mad places that you never would ever have access to, like we shot inside Dublin Cathedral, which obviously
That
anyone
was
can
huge.
go.
I saw that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And obviously anyone can go into Dublin Cathedral. It's open to the public, but when else are you going to be able to sort of shut it down and just have it to yourself? Like something like that is super cool. And of course we could have tried to build a cathedral, but how much would that have cost? For like, we were there for one day, so sometimes you're building this set and you're paying all this money to build a set, and then it's just 1 day or 2 days and you're out. So yeah, it's fun.
So that's what I love too. You did episodes 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
And so I wanted, you gave me like 3 different shows and different movies, like all in those 3 episodes. Like I felt a little bit of White Lotus when you said you shot in Malta. Like that kind of energy was great. I was like, oh, okay, what are we doing here? And then I got the Yellow Jackets vibe because you went back in time with when they were younger and talked about their history and story and how it all came together. And then Stranger Things, when you're learning about the 2 young daughters, how they came about and why they're angry with each other. And then also at Mission Impossible, there's a shot, you might think I'm stretching here, but there's a shot scene where they're running over in Ireland, they're running over the bridge.
Yeah.
And I saw that, I was like, oh, that's a Mission Impossible shot. Like that really is like action. So you have your eye for everything. I wanted to give you a shout out to that.
Thank you. That was the most Difficult and fun aspect of this particular show, because a lot of the time you work on a project, and yes, of course there's ups and downs in the sort of emotional arc and narrative arc and things like that, and the tonal shifts, but this one was night
Yeah,
day, afternoon, night, day. It was crazy, but so fun for that reason. So yeah, we had a great drone unit. So we really, Lisa McGee, the writer showrunner, she really wanted for this to be sort of like a love letter to Northern Ireland particularly, but all of Ireland, so they were shooting in Donegal for a bit. We shot in Dublin for a bit. I think another one of the other blocks shot somewhere else in the Republic of Ireland. And so as a result, of course, you need to show the landscapes, you need to show
yeah.
these huge vistas. And it was really fun going from sort of, blowing something up to going to this sort of White Lotus, warm
Yeah, I'm
Portuguese
sure when it's freezing cold in Ireland, you're like,
hotel.
okay, let's get out of here. Let's go
Yeah.
hop on the plane to Malta, please, please.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, when we first scouted Malta, that was day one of my contract, was meeting the team at the airport in London
Oh
and all
wow.
getting on a plane together, and then being met by a minibus, and then sort of being ferried around different
Yeah.
places and going, will this work? Will this work? And I was thinking, I think it will work. I haven't yet spoken to the director at all since the interview about a month ago, but I'm sure it'll be fine. And then that's the last thing we shot as well. So we scouted it in August and we shot it in November.
Oh wow.
And the time we were scouting it, I hadn't yet been able to see, because when you onboard day one, you don't yet have. It's like when you start at an office or something. You don't always have all the permissions. You can't use the photocopier yet because they need to give you a code. It's all these things, right? So I onboarded day one, and they hadn't yet given the permissions for me to have access to the rushes and things. So I didn't know what they were shooting, like what block one was shooting. I didn't know how it looked. The kind of
Yeah.
eeriness that they were going for. So I didn't know all of that was going on yet. And George, my director, had seen some stuff, but not everything. So we were scouting quite blind in a way, but that did sort of open us up to a different approach to the sort of Portugal scenes, because it is a different place. It's not the same eerie place, and some eerie stuff does happen, but it gives it just adds a new flavor and a new texture to the show, because you've got this whole other world. So yeah.
So for you, how long have you been doing this to understand? Like, does your brain have to cut off, be like, oh, I see all these great shots and great shots, but now you haven't gotten permission. So it's like, oh, I don't want to get my brain filled with all this stuff that I can't even use. So have you learned over the time, like, hey, ignore it, ignore it, ignore it? Or no, do you still take everything in and then kind of dissect it as you go?
It's that one. So I try to take everything. I try to um I I scout with an open mind. So I'll
Okay.
see things and think, oh, if we want to go dark, and because I'd only read episode one, and then
Oh,
I'd
so they give you a
read.
full script, or they just give you one episode and then go from there?
So I interviewed with episode one only, even though episode one had already been assigned to Ashley Barron. But I think they don't want to give out all the scripts to everyone interviewing because of the
Yeah,
NDA
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So I interviewed with episode one, and then my episodes are 4, 5, and 6. So I was sent episodes 4, 5, and 6, but I don't think I was yet sent episodes 2 and 3. I hadn't been sent yet episodes 7 and 8. So there was a few sort of gaps in my knowledge about the story. But you have to just scout with an open mind and think, this moment feels like a scary moment. Maybe it's Greta in the bedroom, and she doesn't know what's going on, and it's all a bit much, and it's all happening very quickly. And so you want to sort of take the tone down, and you don't want to sort of lean into that comedy tone so much. So then we were thinking of how to represent the differences between the comedy moments and the darker, more serious moments, and then how to also bring comedy into the darker, serious moments, and how to bring darkness into the comedy moments. So we knew that was the tone that was generally being gone for, so we weren't fully blind. But yeah, I hadn't actually seen anything. So you know how in episode one they use a ton of color,
Yeah, yeah,
and
it's very
so
bright.
I didn't know yet about the color thing. So we were scouting. Malta has a very distinct palette. It's quite a lot of beige and yellow in the sort of buildings. And so that's when I realized that when I got back to Belfast and I did actually see some of the rushes, and I thought, okay, so the Malta segment will have to follow this kind of more muted palette to make up for the fact that that's just how the buildings look. So yeah, it's a challenge sometimes when you're scouting, especially because you're sometimes having to make decisions so fast. So I think we had a production meeting maybe on day 4 or 5 when we were in Malta about the Malta schedule and for November. And this is before the director and I have really had a chance to sort of do a proper page turn and talk about the scenes. But we're having to decide, do we need 3 hours in this location or 2 hours or 5 hours or whatever. So I think it's having been on shows before, having shot a variety of things before, from commercials, music videos, shorts, and now narrative long form, you get an understanding of what you need to do and what's required of you, even if you don't know exactly what you need to do. You sort of have the broad strokes of it.
So I remember I took an improv class, and I remember the coach saying that you don't want to close the rest of your team off, meaning you want to open it up so they can add to it. And so in this, I see, you're doing 4, 5, and 6. How crucial is that person, that cinematographer before you, to kind of guide you so that you can jump on board? Because otherwise, it really looks like 2 different shows or films, right?
Yeah. So it is important, and Ashley and I did talk, and then I then spoke with Dan, who was the block 3, who did ep 7 and 8. And I sort of passed on what Ashley had told me. There was also a sort of central document for all of us to follow.
Oh, okay.
And but George and I, my director, we really did want to honor the style of episode 1 and 2 and 1, 2, and 3. Sorry, block 1. We really wanted to honor the style that Mike Lennox and Ashley Barron had set up. So Ashley talked about how, especially in the Knockdara Hotel in Ireland, that is a very, very weird place, and things to do with Greta's family, so her husband, her mother, her brother, that is a very weird place too. So whenever I wasn't ever in Knockdara Hotel, but I was in the bar. And the way that Ashley and Mike seem to want to portray eeriness, weirdness, something's a bit different here, something's not quite right here, was with color. So whenever I was in those sort of environments, or whenever the script took that tone, I also adopted that tone. And they had this very wide warpy lens. It was the 21mm Atlas Orion anamorphic. And that one, because it's so warpy, it's and distorting a little bit on the edges, we've really liked using that whenever there was something crazy going on. So like, for example, in my very first shot that I did on the show in the schedule was when Liam wakes up in his hospital room. And so the very first, that was the first scene we did. And so the very first shot George and I made sure to do was to use that nice big wide warpy lens. And we didn't put lots of color in the lighting, because it's meant to be in a hospital room. So we didn't feel it would work for us to go too crazy with the color, but we instead put then color in the production design instead. So we still had that feeling of color and that feeling of distortion.
And you brought light to a hospital room, which is kind of tough sometimes, right?
Exactly. Like if we'd have just lit it like red or something, it might have felt a bit too heavy for that scene. So we did try to see like where should we use it, where should we not use it. And because my block was tonally so different from Ashley's block and tonally so different from Dan's block, we as the DPs had to respond to that. You can't just blindly follow a rule someone set unless it works. Like when it's pure comedy or pure action, for example, like you're saying the Mission Impossible thing, I never wanted it the look to feel forced, and I never wanted it to feel it's non-naturalistic, but in a heightened way.
Yeah, it wasn't forced, but it added to the scene. So
exactly.
I was like, why would you do that shot? And I was like, oh, it actually is beautiful, because you don't see like bridges in Ireland like that. You really don't see those shots. Usually like Chicago, New York, like those big cities, but you never, or London, but you never see like, oh, Ireland, let me take a little scan of that. So it was pretty cool to see it from that perspective.
Yeah. Well, great. I'm really glad people are responding so well to it.
And then the other show, the shot is when they go to the show and they're sitting in the stands, and then she has a dream sequence when she's all past that. That was really cool how that was shot. That was really well done. So I wanted to give you a shout out to that as well.
Thank you.
So what got you interested in this? You know, most people are like, oh, I tried acting and like that, or I saw this certain movie and I did that. What inspired you, and then what kept it going?
To get into cinematography, you mean?
Yes.
So it was always only cinematography. That was
Really?
always, there was never anything else. And I can't, never say never about other things, but I don't know if I'd ever want to do anything else. It's very specifically, it feels very specifically tailored to me and my specific interests, which is so rare to find that in a career. And I feel incredibly fortunate that I have found it. But I was always, as a kid, I always was interested in reading way more than going out and playing with friends and things. Like, I was always quite happy to be on my own with a book. And to be honest, I still kind of am. I'm still very happy to just be on my own with my cat, watching something or reading something. So I was always interested in reading, and when I'd read, I would just sort of see the text playing out as a movie, but I didn't know what that meant. I'm sure probably a lot of people do that. And then at my school, we had the option to study art history, and we were studying art history, analyzing these images, analyzing the color, the composition, the lighting, the little details in the, in the bushes and things. And like, everything about that was so interesting to me. And then similarly, at the same time, I was also doing English literature at school, and we were doing the same thing, but with text. And so I loved photography, and I loved watching films. And so I thought, oh, I wish there was a job where I could analyze image and text and do something with photography and like get to watch films all day. And then I obviously thought no such thing could possibly exist because, I'm not that lucky of a person. And then I finished university, doing art history and English, and all my friends knew what they wanted to do, and it all felt very grown up. They all had a very clear vision of how they wanted to sort of see their 20s and 30s and things. And I had no clue whatsoever. I thought media something, I don't know. So I just Googled like this garbled string of nonsense words, to do with the job. So it was like
Before
study
AI, of course.
photography, London, film, masters, just all this rubbish. I don't even know what I wrote. And it said, the Google results said, study cinematography at blah blah schools, or a bunch of schools. And I thought, what the hell is cinematography? I've never heard of that word. And so I looked it up, and then I was like, oh my God, yes, that one. That's what I want to do. So then, and that was when I was about 22. But then I didn't actually start until I was 29.
Oh wow. Wow. 7 years.
Yes. Yeah, so I got scared. You know when you want something so badly, you don't do it. I don't know if you ever do that. I wanted it so badly that I knew that if I tried and it didn't match what was happening in my head, that that was, the sign from the universe that I should absolutely not do this and that I was rubbish and crap. So I had all these ideas for like films and shots and things like that. And then whenever I would try to replicate those with my tiny camera, it obviously would not look the same because I didn't have the training. I didn't know what I was doing. So then I thought, oh my God, I can't do it. This has to just be my pipe dream, and I'm just going to work in admin for the rest of my life. And then I moved to Japan, taught English, still running away from it, still very much running away from it. And then I had to come back to London for family reasons. So I came back and I thought, you know what, I'm 29, enough. I'm just gonna, what harm can it do? I might as well try. So I applied to film school and just took to it like a duck to water. But it was always cinematography from the start, and that hasn't gone away. And so I started at 29. I just turned 40, so I'm hoping it continues going in this direction. But yeah, I'm feeling really good. And you know, especially with the BAFTA Breakthrough thing, little baby me could never have imagined that, you know, when I called my friend and said, I need to meet you now, I have to tell you something. And I said to her, I know what I want to do. I want to be a cinematographer. And she said, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
I never, ever in my wildest dream could have imagined that I'd be, you know, hired on an amazing show like this that offered me so much creative freedom and growth, like learning how to blow things up, all these things that I learned how to do. And, you know, like the communication that I learned with my team from this it was incredible. And then to be named as a BAFTA Breakthrough 2025, it's just astonishing to me. So yeah, I'm feeling so weird right now that this is all happening to me, you know, because it still feels like I'm outside, like looking at my life, but also very happy and very proud.
No, man, congratulations. I mean, everything happens for a reason. I'm sure your eye was still spotting stuff when you were in Japan. I've been to Japan, and
Definitely,
there's like so many things that just like your brain is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So I'm sure you were
definitely.
always thinking about it in the back.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, I didn't speak any Japanese at all when I first landed there. So I was kind of having to just read a lot of body language. And so it taught me to then be able to read actors' body language on set. And I actually used that skill just yesterday on a short film I was doing where the director and we'd shortlisted, you know, a couple of weeks ago. We decided what we were going to do. We'd scouted the place, all of that business. And then I was in the middle of the take and I just noticed that the actor was doing something with her hands. And I thought, this is a really important part of the script that the director and I could never have planned for. And learning sort of how to read other people's body language on, you know, in person it was great. Yeah, like really honing in on these skills, you know.
Nice. So, um, I wanted to ask you, you've been doing this now. So now you've been doing this since 11 years now?
Yeah, I've started film school in 2014, so yeah.
And then what was your big first break?
Big first break. I guess it was Dreaming Whilst Black, the TV show, season one.
Okay.
Um, well, I mean, that wasn't my first big break, but it was my first break into long form narrative. Possibly my first big break was so years and years ago. Um, I did a music video with my good friend Akinola Davies, who's just done this incredible feature that you must watch called My Father's Shadow.
My father's
Um,
already done.
he and I met in when, you know, in like 2008 or something, both temping on reception at
Really?
some media company. We were babies. And I said to him, I want to be a cinematographer. And he said, I want to be a director. And then he said, what's a cinematographer? And then I explained it all to him. And now he's amazing. And so I went to film school. I went to Japan. I went to film school, and Akin stayed in London, and he was working, and he was doing some DJing bits and nightclubby bits, and then he had a music video that was shooting, and it was my first music video, and it was my probably second time working with him, and it was it came out so beautiful. It's the artist is Camille, and the song is called Body. And it was just so like we were able to be so expressive with it. And it wasn't anything crazy complicated. We had one of those sort of turntables. We had
Yeah.
a backdrop. We had different models and people sort of sitting on that, sort of rotating. And we were sort of picking up little different pieces of their body parts and things and getting their expressions. And we shot it in a small, tiny room, but it was the first time that I actually felt really proud of my work and really felt like, oh, I can actually do this, and I can work with directors, and I can work with talent and songs and playback and big cameras. It was the first time I had loads of camera kits, and I actually still have, you know, when camera rental houses pack up their boxes of camera
Yeah.
things and put it on the van, they sometimes put a piece of camera tape that has the name of the production on it. And I still have it here, actually. Let me just find it for you. So it's This is
All
very,
right.
very embarrassing, but
There you go. Hey, there you go.
so Pulse
6917.
Films, 6th of September 2017. It was my first time working with Pulse, who were like a pretty decent production company, and it was the first time I felt like, am I a real DP now? Like,
Nice.
is this really happening? And yeah, so that was probably the first time I felt like I was a real DP. And then my first big break into long form narrative was Dreaming Whilst Black. And by the time Dreaming Whilst Black came round, I'd done so much that I felt very prepared for sort of the hectic TV schedule world. So
Nice.
yeah.
Well, last question to you. I have a show I do called Rewind with Ro, and I asked my guests if you can rewind any moment either on this set or in your career, what would it be?
Okay. Right.
No pressure.
I'm just trying to figure out how I word this.
We won't
So
judge you any way you want. You want.
I would rewind. Okay, if I rewind, do I have the knowledge I have today?
You can do it. Yeah. That's the whole purpose of the rewind.
Okay.
But it's the rewind. Either you want to change it or rewind, just relive the moment.
I
That's on you.
think I think I want to rewind to, and it's not necessarily to my career directly, but I want to rewind to the day I decided to accept the job in Japan. So that was in 2008. And I had, at that point, I'd already been a runner on a short film, and I'd been trying to follow the DP around, being like, what's he doing? What's that stuff he's carrying? Why is he doing it that way? And I knew at that point, that was already post my big revelation. So I knew that I wanted to be a DP. And he said to me, come meet me for a coffee. We'll talk about everything, I'll help you. And I was so intimidated. Not because he's horrible, he's a lovely guy. And I was really grateful that he offered me that opportunity. But I never did it because I was too nervous. I was so
No.
nervous. I was so insecure. And so
Wow.
I ran, this is when I was 22 or something, or 23. So I ran away from the opportunity because I was too scared of
Oh,
failure. And the way my life worked out, it's that butterfly effect thing. Like,
yeah.
I ended up going to Japan, and, as a result, certain, things changed. Like, my long-term relationship ended, but I met new people out there, and then I made some lifelong friends that I'm still friends with today. You know, me going out there resulted in my friend meeting his wife, getting married, and having two children because he was my university friend. I was out there, he came to visit me, and I was like, this is my friend. And now they're married. So there's like obviously a path of life that me having gone to Japan and having lived a little bit of life has informed my career. It's informed who I am as a person, because I'm now, I didn't come to this blinkered like film school, then another film school. Like I lived life, and then I came to it, quite late. I was the oldest person in both my film schools, in my class, both times. But I do wonder what would have happened if I'd have gone for that coffee, and what would have, I would have started my life in cinematography or in the film and TV industry at like 23 instead
You
of
would have
at
been burned out. You would have
29.
been burned out. 100%.
Do you think?
100%. I used to live in LA. Talking to people, you would have been because you weren't ready for it, and
I wasn't ready for it.
they would have taken the hope and joy out of it,
Yeah.
and you had to earn that hope and joy and really appreciate it. So I don't think you would have. Yeah.
But I wish I could go. I mean, I do wonder if I'd changed that, if I'd not moved there, like if I did rewind to that moment, would I make the same choice? No, knowing I'm going to get there in the end.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that I have the life experience behind me that I do. One of my favorite cinematographers is Christopher Doyle. For his work is beautiful, and especially if you ever watch In the Mood for Love, it's stunning. And he's had all kinds of mad jobs. He didn't just go from birth to film. It was like he was like a sheep herder or something. He'd done all these crazy things, and I think having that life experience makes me a better filmmaker. It makes me more able to work with different people, which is truly a gift in this industry. But yeah, what would have happened? You know, where would I be now? Who knows?
Well, hey, thank you so much for your time. Again, Roger Carter, this is blackfilm.com. This is the lovely and talented Nathalie Pitters, and you can check her out episodes 4, 5, and 6 on how to get to heaven from Belfast. The whole series is great, but
Thank
she does a
you.
little special sprinkle on it on 4, 5, and 6. So congratulations again. Good luck with your future. It already looks bright, so keep doing what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.